49ers have lost faith in Trey Lance. This is the big news coming out of the owners' meetings out in Arizona Monday, Tuesday. Monday, 49ers Twitter kind of lost its mind a little bit, and then it just kind of completely blew up on Tuesday after Kyle Shanahan's conversation with the media in the morning. 49ers losing faith in Trey Lance. I'm going to start off with you, Johnny. Let me know, what do you think here? 49ers losing faith in Trey Lance?
Well, let's just say you said that Niners Twitter lost their mind on Monday. They never had it. I mean, come on. Look, there was nothing that was said this week that would change that infers anything that they have changed their stance on Trey Lance at all. I'm going to sell that completely. No, I don't think they've lost faith in Trey Lance. And just because Brock Purdy plays unlike almost any rookie that we've ever seen, doesn't mean that Trey isn't a knock on Trey Lance. Like, the one thing that was fascinating for me in watching all the film was, and I've watched a lot of rookies over the years, is that when you watch Brock Purdy, you forgot you were watching a rookie. From the execution of the plays and the way everything was going, you really felt like at no point was I sitting there going, okay, there's potential here, I would like to see that. It just felt like you were watching a 4-year vet. It really did. And that speaks more about Brock Purdy than it does negatively on Trey Lance. And so when you say what happened with the team, they're scoring 34 points a game with Brock Purdy. What more do we want? What more do you need to see? What more would Brock have to say to then say, well, it's not his job? Absolutely, it's his job. It would be insane for them to say it isn't. It would be completely unfair to every player in that locker room to say that it doesn't matter that a guy comes in and we have the highest scoring offense in the league during the stretch with him, but we drafted a guy with 3 first-round picks. That is not being genuine as an organization to say that whoever puts it on the field best plays. So nothing they said to me says that this is a knock on Trey Lance. So have they lost faith in him? Absolutely not. I think they still believe he will be the guy that they want him to be, and they're sitting in a great position where you have 2 guys that you really believe in, and they brought in Sam Darnold because we saw what happened once they lost 3 quarterbacks, that they needed as many quarterbacks as they could. They had 3 quarterbacks start games for them that meant something. They need at least 3 quarterbacks they believe in. Bringing Sam Darnold in isn't anything about against Trey Lance. It's about they have been burned by this every single year. They lose multiple quarterbacks to injury. So this is more about just protecting yourself against, history repeating itself than it is against Trey Lance. I think they believe just as strong in him now as they did a year ago.
All right, CG, what do you think here?
Man. So signing Sam Darnold was kind of a question mark, but now they're splitting first team reps. Like, I'm kind of questioning about it, man. It's like me being put in a hardware place, man. Like, are they really that confident with Trey Lance? Because it seems to me they're treating him like a running back. And the more I start to think about it, I have to face reality, man. It seems like I have to buy into it, man, until the naysayers prove me otherwise, bro. I really believe in Trey Lance, but it doesn't seem like they have the most up confidence, because if that's the case, why are you splitting first team reps with Sam Darnold? You kind of get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. All right, Sterling, what do you think here?
Do you have the buy and sell that goes both ways again? I think it's kind of one of those, because
fine, I'll let you have it. I'll let you borrow it.
Thank you. You. But no, I don't think San Francisco has technically lost faith in Trey Lance. I do think they see a quarterback that they believed in when they drafted him. Someone that has all the tools you want, that has the read option stuff, has a great arm. Accuracy issues are still there, but more reps he gets, hopefully he will improve. That's always been the conversation of he needs more reps. Once that happens, he'll become the quarterback they think he will eventually be. But like Johnny said, it would be disingenuous to look at guys like Trent Williams and Fred Warner and George Kittle and say, hey, we have Brock Purdy, who, yes, is a big question mark because of the health of his elbow, but we have a guy who won essentially every single game he started in outside the Eagles game. We're not going to play that guy at all because he wasted 3 first-round draft picks on Trey Lance. you cannot do that to guys saying, hey, you're going to waste the prime of my career. This could be my last chance for a Super Bowl, and you're going to waste that, or potentially waste that by not starting Brock Purdy. But I do think that Trey Lance is kind of on the back burner now, because I think San Francisco sees Brock Purdy, as they should, as their franchise quarterback. And now I think it's like, well, what do we do with Trey? I don't think it's they don't believe in him. I just don't think that they necessarily need to believe in him because they have Brock Purdy in the room now. Trey Lance is playing for a fifth year option this year. Really, he really is. And I don't think the Sam Darnold split reps is that big of a deal. It's a good question to have as to why that's happening. Maybe it's because Trey's ankle isn't okay and they're trying to figure things out with that, or his foot's not okay. Maybe that's it. But Jack, you and I were in camp last year for a short time together. I met you in the bathroom, and I said, "How's Trey look?" And you said, "He's looked okay. There's some accuracy issues." That's not gonna go away unless he's a completely new quarterback this offseason, which I hope he is. Like, there's nothing wrong with having two star quarterbacks in your room. The difference is I just don't think Trey's in the front of their mind anymore because Brock Purdy has now overtaken that job. And again, it's like, what do we do with Trey? We have our guy now in Purdy, and Trey's still in the room. It's kind of awkward again. Like, it's like Jimmy and Trey again. Like, Trey's our guy, Jimmy, sorry. Now we're here again. And it's like, we have two quarterbacks that the fans are kind of torn on once again, but the franchise obviously wants one more than the other, or at least is going to try to play one more than the other. And the starting quarterbacks in San Francisco, it can never be easy. But again, I don't think they have lost faith. I just think they're kind of like, hey, Trey's also here too. That's great, but Brock Purdy's our guy.
I don't mean to jump in, but just you got my mind thinking a little bit of just, if I'm the 49ers and I'm looking at how difficult the transition was from Jimmy Garoppolo, or from Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo, and how much the offense had to change going from there, and the style of offense. If I'm the 49ers and I'm looking at, okay, if Brock Purdy's my guy and I'm going to be building around him, who makes it an easier transition to from him if he goes down? Is it going to be to Sam Darnold, or is it going to be to Trey Lance? Who's the easier transition to QB number 2? If that has to happen, because they've been through that, and so I that kind of makes me wonder if that doesn't play into the splitting of reps.
That's a good point.
It kind of gives me that question mark a little bit, because the way they treated Trey Lance, they treated him more like a runner than they did at a quarterback. So he has to get more of the reps throwing the ball, but they're running him around like he's RG3, and I'm hoping I'm wrong otherwise, but it just seems that's what it's projecting to be. They see Brock Purdy as the guy. He's going to recover. It's going to take some time. I'm really hoping that Trey can overcome this, but bringing Sam Darnold just tells me that they really like Sam Darnold.
I'm sorry. Luke Walsh wins the comments. He says Shanahan goes through quarterbacks at the same pace Spinal Tap goes through drummers. We're just waiting for one to spontaneously combust.
Oh, that's a good one, Luke. But see, now I was going to say really quick that I totally remember the first time I met Sterling. Completely different than that. I
not the bathroom.
What he said that
not the bathroom.
What he said there in terms of me saying, in terms of the what I thought of Lance's performance during training camp last year, that sounds like pretty much like me. But the other part, I thought it was on the sidelines, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. As far as when it comes to buying or selling that the 49ers have lost faith in Trey Lance, you're having a really good conversation with this so far. I'm selling it. I don't think the 49ers have necessarily lost faith in Trey Lance. And I listen. Here's the thing for me. I've heard John Lynch talk twice now. I heard him on a podcast shortly after the time that he met with the media altogether at the scouting combine. Listen to him. He was much more open in a podcast that I did shortly after. Then I heard what he said on Monday. He said the same thing both times. And then you hear Kyle Shanahan talk, and they're both saying the same. They are picking their words very, very carefully. And this is one of the things that when it comes to Kyle Shanahan and the quarterback spot, I've really come to appreciate is he doesn't give you shit. He doesn't tell you anything. He kind of gives you little bits in here, in terms of the big stuff, but he says just enough to not pigeonhole himself in any direction. He did that when Trey Lance was first brought in back in the 2021 camp when he was asked about, Lance and Garoppolo splitting reps and there being a competition. The way that he worded his response to that made everybody think that there wasn't going to be a competition if you read the words very carefully with what he said, he left himself all kinds of room for there to be a competition, which is exactly what happened, which is exactly what he told Albert Breer last year around training camp time about the competition that took place between those guys. I think that they still like Trey Lance. I do think that the door is open for Trey Lance to take this job, for Trey Lance to become the 49ers starting quarterback. Johnny, I know what you said in terms of Brock Purdy, and I agree with you. As a rookie, as a 7th-round draft pick, forget the 7th-round draft pick. Throw that out. As a rookie NFL starting quarterback, what he did last year was off the charts. The problem right now is we don't know what's going to happen with his arm. There's a lot of positive things that, based off of the more recent UCL injuries, that he could be okay. But I don't think the Farmers have totally given up on Trey Lance. But here's the thing. Trey Lance can't come into training camp this year and be anywhere close to the Trey Lance that we saw last year. If he's that guy, then he might not even be on the 49ers roster when they get to the 53-man cut down. He needs to come in and he needs to play at a level like we saw from Brock Purdy. Can he do it? We saw him do it for about 2 quarters against Houston. Other than that, we have not seen him do that. I'll even take myself back a little bit further. In 2021, in training camp of 2021, he looked like that guy the first 2 weeks. That's why when John Lynch went on the radio around the time of that first preseason game, he said that Lance was pushing Garoppolo because he was doing that at that point. And then from that point on, it's just been a steady flat line and a little bleep up. And it just think of a heart monitor that just the guy's just right there right at the edge. That's all it's been with him since then. And he's going to have to make a big change in his performance if he's going to take this job. And I understand there's a lot of guys that are really big Trey Lance fans. You guys have been selling this guy really hard since the 49ers drafted him. It's time to put up or shut up. That's all I got to say. He's either going to do it or he's not. And
I mean, I support the guy. It's just I don't see how they are not believing this guy. It's just there's just different signs of it. Like Brock Purdy kind of give him the type of quarterback they want, and he did exactly what you wouldn't expect from the last pick in the draft. Like he outperformed the expectation. Trey Lance was the 3rd pick in the draft. You kind of have that narrative. I mean, I want to see Trey prove otherwise. It's just there's a lot of doubt.
Yeah. Well, I think if you are the 49ers and you're Kyle Shanahan, the reason you doubt Trey Lance, if you do doubt him, is because he hasn't performed. He's been okay. The biggest thing with Trey Lance is you went into this last and he was going to be the dude. He made it for 5 quarters. That's the biggest thing for me really quick, just kind of going off of this topic for a second, is the people that are just really upset about this and saying that the 49ers have screwed up the quarterback position and screwed up Trey Lance. For me, I don't get it. And the reason why I don't get it is because they went in, they gave him opportunities in year 1. He didn't take the most of it. So that's fine. So they went into year 2 and they gave the guy the keys to the castle. They didn't bring in anybody to even compete with him. So it was the Trey Lance show, and then you had, Nate Sudfeld, but there was nobody there to push him, and he wasn't very good in training camp. I don't care what anybody tells me, he wasn't, and the coach said it. Trey Lance said it. I don't know what anybody else that's a big Trey Lance fan needs to hear, other than I get the fact that you like the guy and you want him to be good. But wanting a player to be something doesn't mean that that's what he's going to be, and I think that's where I differ from some other people. Is I see the potential, I get it, I saw it when I watched the film. If you watch my film breakdowns, you can start to hear him when I was starting to get excited about the plays he was making at North Dakota State and how they'd fit into the 49ers and how this would work with Kyle Shanahan. It just hasn't translated, and we'll see. Maybe he's got a chance. He's going to get tons of reps. And I know there's a lot of people who are saying that Sam Darnold does this and that and the other thing. Sam Darnold is way closer to Trey Lance than he is worse than Trey Lance. Let's just put it that way. You watch these two guys play on film, at least what I've seen of him a little bit here in Carolina from last season. He's doing all the stuff that they've asked Trey Lance to do in San Francisco. Anybody want to say anything?
I mean, in the end, I think some of what you see is that people want Trey Lance to be Josh Allen, and I don't want Trey Lance to be Josh Allen. I want Trey Lance to be Trey Lance. The best thing for the 49ers is for Trey Lance to succeed. That doesn't mean that you have to then go say that the 49ers are burying this guy and ruining this guy. Okay, in the end, players have to, in this day and age where the majority of the offseason players are working on their own, players have to be responsible for their own success and to be able to do the things. He needs to be able to do the things that you need from an NFL quarterback. Okay, he needs to be able to do the things that we need in this offense, and a lot of that is going to be operating that short passing game. That, I mean, people, I know when people think of Trey Lance coming in, they think of the deep ball and they think of Danny Gray and the deep ball connection and wanting to see that added into the offense, but you can't gain that at the loss of the ability to attack the short over the middle and intermediate over the middle levels that Kyle Shanahan loves to attack and stress to set up his run game. He loves to attack linebackers and box safeties so that they are slower to react off of their to the runs, to the wide zone, everything. So he has to be able to operate that to work Kyle Shanahan's run game, and that is everything in this offense. And so, for me, he's got to figure out how to improve that area of his game. That has to elevate, or he will be what it's the always of what could be. And that doesn't mean that he's going to be Josh Allen and going bombs away 60 yards down the field, 10 times a game. He needs to be able to do what Kyle Shanahan wants him to be in this team. He's not fit for this.
I'm not going to call anybody out in my comment section, but real quick before we move on to the next topic, I am going to say that I keep laughing and I'm chuckling. You might see I'm not laughing at what you're saying, John. I'm not laughing at any of the other my guys on my show are saying. I'm laughing because there's a guy in my comment section who last year kept yelling at me and telling me how good Trey Lance was going to be, telling me how wrong I was about Jimmy Garoppolo, telling me all these things, and let's just say he's not a big fan of Trey Lance anymore, which is just kind of. This is one of those guys where he's a really good dude, and that's why I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just going to say it's funny. You do this enough, and you have people that yell and scream at you, and it's funny when every once in a while they come back the other side. So that's a good one. I love it, and we'll see. I said I tweeted this today. If Trey Lance is the guy. If Trey Lance is the guy that everybody has been selling me, all the Trey Lance fans who are upset about the fact that he has to compete with Sam Darnold, all the Trey Lance fans who are upset about whatever they're upset about when it comes to Trey Lance on the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, if Trey Lance is the guy that you've been trying to sell everybody for the last 3 years, I don't know why you're worried, because he should win the job back.